Welcome to another You Comment, We Respond.
We're back, baby.
Oh boy. The first hand we're going to talk about is Tom Dwan getting slow rolled? You can click right up there to check it out. The answer is no.
No.
Just to, kind of give you a little preview of that.
Should have been.
He should have been. So the action was, it was in the Premier League. Tom Dwan opened Queen 10 under the gun. JC Tran called out of the big blind with Ace 10. It was an Ace Jack 9 flop that went check check somehow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Really interesting.
The turn was a jack. JC checked, Tom bet, JC called.
Fine.
The river was another jack, so now it's Ace Jack 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 9. So JC has the third nuts, which is effectively the second nuts. Yeah, I said it. And I said it before, and people got mad about that. But whatever. Anyway, he's got the full house. He checks. Dwan goes all in for twice the pot, and JC finds a fold somehow with the ace.
Yep, that's what happens. Okay, Francois Grossman says, there are 2 points I would dispute.
Please.
I like that. First off, when you say that JC, quote, needs to be right about 40% of the time, end quote, I do not think this is correct. That would be if he is winning the pot or losing it. We know he is chopping very often here. Secondly, I would like to nuance the argument of he is chopping or losing almost always because it would turn this spot into a close but decent fold.
So he's, maybe nuance is the wrong word there? Maybe he's positing that he's chopping or losing almost always?
Yeah, I think he's saying, yeah, that's, maybe we didn't say that he was chopping or losing almost always, for sure.
I don't think so.
But other people must have been saying it in the comments, yeah. So let's take this one at a time. So first of all, you want to hit the first one, 40%, he's winning or losing? I
mean, you're right in a way that the chop changes the math a little bit, but I mean, it's such a spot where you're so rarely losing. It's so hard to be losing. Dwan has to have pocket aces, which there's one combo of, or a jack, which is really hard to have.
It's really hard to have either one of those things, and we have a perfect hand. Basically, not the best hand we could ever have here, but it's the second best hand we could ever have here.
And it's Tom Dwan.
Right.
It's Tom freaking Dwan.
And that's the whole he is chopping or losing almost always.
Yeah.
He is not, because it's Tom Dwan. Tom can absolutely show up with lots of stuff here. It's like, pretend it's Victor Blum, or pretend it's a baby just pressing buttons randomly, because that's kind of what it's like sometimes against Tom. Obviously, this is a well thought out hand by Tom, and he is repping a very strong hand. But he absolutely doesn't have to have it. And so while we sometimes are chopping, we often aren't.
Right, and Daniel Negreanu himself has said Tom Dwan is bluff heavy. He said that in response to a video we did with Daniel Negreanu and Tom Dwan.
That's right.
And it seems like that might be true. You just have to call with this part of your range.
You just have to.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We've got 3 legends, 3 funky plays.
Who are the legends, Jonathan?
Doyle Brunson.
Wow.
Daniel Negreanu.
Yeah.
Barry Greenstein.
Ah, okay.
I mean, but the first 2.
Yeah. All right. So if you want to see that one, click right up there. It was a pretty interesting pot, especially considering the way Daniel played the hand. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's a cash game, to be clear. It's a 6 max table. And Doyle opens with 6-3 of spades.
Because he likes to.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
Barry's in the small blind with ace queen of diamonds. He 3 bets. Daniel's got 2 kings in the big blind, decides to call.
Just calls.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Doyle calls as well with the 6-3 of spades, and we're off to the flop.
The flop is queen high with 2 diamonds, which is great for Barry's hand. Also, it gives Doyle a 3. He pairs the bottom card.
Yeah.
So that's not amazing, but it's okay, I guess. But Barry and Daniel both love the flop. Barry bets. Daniel calls. Doyle overcalls, which I don't know.
He decides to close the action and call. It's not the end of the world, but it's not amazing.
He's proven to be a genius on the turn, which is another 3, vaulting Doyle to the lead.
Woo!
Barry checks.
Interesting check.
We liked it in the end.
Yeah.
Daniel checks. Makes a lot of sense.
I mean, he could also bet.
He could bet, but checking's fine.
Yeah.
And Doyle bets.
Yeah, which you gotta like that.
Barry just calls, and this is a weird spot for Daniel because he's so under up, but he decides to call as well.
Yeah.
And the river comes 4 of diamonds, giving Barry the nut flush. And Daniel's got 2 kings, and Doyle's got trip 3s. Barry moves in for less than the pot. It's like half the pot or something. Something like that. Daniel folds, which seems right.
Yeah.
And Doyle hates his life and calls and loses.
Yeah, we weren't sure if Doyle's call was good. We were wondering what Barry's ever doing this with that isn't a flush.
Yeah.
So, her craw says, maybe Doyle is calling off because he thinks that there are not that many checks for Barry with the turn flush draw. The flush draw came on the turn.
Yeah.
The hand he has makes sense, but Doyle maybe thinks Barry would continue and also continue if he has ace king, ace jack, etc. of diamonds to fold out hands like 10s, jacks, queen jack, maybe even king queen. On the other hand, I don't see which bluffs he has on the river after check calling the turn. But is he really check calling with flush draw without a pair? Seems too passive. It is interesting. It's really possible Barry would continue if he had I think if he had a flush draw without a pair, he's more apt to continue. When he has the pair as well, he doesn't feel as much of a need to continue because he's comfortable no matter how the hand plays out. Like, there's very few rivers that are a problem for him. So
yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, that's true with the pair, but I think there's a different point for even when he doesn't have a pair. He might not continue because he might not think he has any fold equity. Part of when you're betting with a flush draw here is because you expect your opponents to fold a lot of the time. He got called in 2 spots, and the card on the turn should be somewhat inconsequential to the hand.
Yeah, but he does have top. It's not.
No,
like...
I'm saying if he had no pair.
Oh, if he had no pair.
If he had the ace king of diamonds, he might not bet because
Okay.
he might not think he has fold equity. Because you need fold equity to bet there, right?
Sure.
It's required, or else it's a really bad bet.
Yeah, I agree.
Daniel called and Doyle overcalled the bottom card pairs. I mean, you're not getting through both players very often.
No, it's true, because they have reasons to be calling.
Yeah.
Daniel, the thing is, the 3 usually doesn't hit either player. Turns out it hit Doyle.
Yeah.
You really shouldn't be afraid of the 3 in any way, though. No one should be afraid of it. That's one of the things that makes it interesting to me that Daniel decides to check the turn rather than bet it. Because kings rate to be the best hand here almost always. They're not.
Doing a little trappy thing, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Let Doyle fire away, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, do a little pot control so he can save himself if the river's dangerous.
Yeah, I guess so.
Which it was.
Reasonable points, but I think Doyle probably was a little spewy with the river call.
Yeah, I agree.
Next up, we have Could You Call This Over Bet? Click right up there to check it out. It was $25.50, right? Poker Night in America game. I think that might have been a straddle on to 100, though.
Yep.
And it was a ladies-only game, which is the main reason why it was Kate Hall and Sam Abernathy, I suppose.
I mean, both of them can show up in
That's true.
ladies games, for sure.
That's true, but it was a ladies-only game.
It was.
Yes, and Kate Hall opened. She had 2 kings. Again, she always has kings when we do hands.
Always sit in the same seat, too.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe she likes that seat.
Maybe. I don't know why.
There was a call, and then Abernathy with ace queen of hearts, 3-bet out of the small blind, pretty big.
1,500 after over 300 open.
Hall decided to just call with her 2 kings, and they ended up heads up to the flop, which was 8-8-4, which was a bet and a call.
Yep.
Then the turn was a 3, which was another bet and a call, kind of a small bet and a call. And the river was another 4, so it's 8-8-4-4-3. Hall sitting there with 2 kings. Abernathy has ace high. Abernathy moves in for 22K into 14K, and Hall eventually finds a fold.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. These are the 2 biggest stacks at the table, too, so it was pretty cool. All right, Eric Smyth 14 says.
Smyth, yes.
Bam.
Yeah.
I definitely don't like the call pre-flop with kings because of what the SPR will be on the flop. That's, of course, stack to pot ratio. In general, you don't want to get 9 or higher SPR pots with big pocket pairs like jacks to kings when you have the option to get the SPR down by raising. With aces, however, I think it makes a bit more sense to flat because it's hard to experience bad post-flop runouts. There are a few bad flops. And there is little equity to seize. With kings, though, there are hands like ace-queen of hearts that have a lot of equity against you, and it's not the end of the world getting them to fold pre-flop, but when you have exactly aces, it is.
That's an interesting comment. I think Hall's willing to play a little bit more of a high variance game because if she 4-bets here, it means that Abernathy has to have a huge bluff or one of the really, really big hands to continue. She's probably folding ace-queen of hearts to the 4-bet.
I mean, if it's a significant 4-bet out of position, she might just fold.
So you got to hope Abernathy has ace-king suited. Maybe she goes with that, maybe not. I don't know.
I mean, queens she could go with. She's going to hold on and jack. Big pocket pairs, she's going to at least call once and then see a flop, but then we may lose them on the flop anyway, right? She may just fold on the flop. We probably make more money a lot of the time, unless if Abernathy has exactly queens, probably, or maybe ace-king. We make more money by playing it this way. The other thing that this does, though, which is important to note, is we don't have to go broke for 300 blinds or 600 blinds.
I mean, if we get it all in for this many chips, it's usually aces, right?
Yeah, it's 300 straddles and 600 blinds. I mean, we can't get that much in with kings, so are we just going to fold to a 5-bet? Because if we're going to fold to a 5-bet, we probably shouldn't be 4-betting. Yeah,
that's really the question. So that's a big thing looming over Kate Hall when she decides to make this call. It's a really big 3-bet, too.
Yeah.
I mean, we can give up on ace-high boards. If Abernathy is a little bit bluff-oriented and she has a lot of ace blockers in her range, then it's cool if we get to lose a lot less by just calling.
I mean, look, if Kate doesn't 4-bet but calls on the river, she looks like a genius, right?
Yeah.
Now she has all of Sam's money when she never would have gotten it had she played the hand any other way.
But
that's not what happened. Yeah, okay. Our last hand for this You Comment We Respond is one of our most popular videos of the year. We've never seen aces played this way.
Maybe the title's just really cool?
I mean, the title is pretty cool.
It's a cool hand.
So it's a hand where we are at the World Series of Poker. It's a side event. It's a final table. And the opener's name is Givens.
Yeah.
And he has 2 aces. He raises. He's called in the big blind by the other chip leader, whose last name is Lee. I don't know anyone's first name. Sorry, guys. Who's got King Jack. The flop is 9, 8,
5.
5. Thank you very much, Grant. It goes check, check.
2 clubs on the flop, too.
Yeah.
He checks back the aces.
Now, no one has a club, but still interesting.
Yeah.
Turn is a 3. It goes check, check again.
Checks the aces again.
I mean, come on, people. This is crazy.
We've never seen aces played this way.
The river is a jack, so it's the perfect river.
Lee bets.
Lee understandably bets. Givens raises.
Which is really interesting.
Really interesting. Lee does find a call ultimately, and Givens looks like a genius.
Click right up there to check it out.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right, still trying to help says, as Lee, the guy with the king jack, we should overbet this river with the intention to fold to a raise. We have a huge range advantage, and our opponent is in a really tough spot with even the top of his value range. When we throw in more merged hands into our overbet strategy here, it makes it hard to play against. If our opponent calls our bluffs in the spot too much, having hands like top pair will protect us from the weaker catchers. As a bonus, we lose less money than bet calling when we're beat, since we only lose 1.5 times the pot instead of 1.7 times the pot or so. This is interesting.
These are interesting points, but I don't know if I agree with the range advantage thing because Lee did not bet the turn.
But the board is definitely better for our range than Givens.
I mean, he's in the cutoff. It's not that much better.
Okay, but it's probably better. Maybe you're right.
I mean, if Lee has any sort of 2-pair hand, he's going to bet the turn, right?
Yeah.
So that diminishes that element of the range advantage.
But I mean, Queen 10. Either guy can have Queen 10 for sure, right? I mean, they
can both have Queen 10.
The thing is, you'd expect actually either one of them to bet Queen 10 along the way. So now it's hard for them.
I don't really think there's a range advantage.
All right, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
It's still an interesting idea though to overbet the pot here with the notion of trying to get hero called and feeling comfortable like you're just going to fold to a raise because you think it's much less likely that your opponent's going to bluff.
Yeah.
Givens is going to have a lot less bluffs when we bet 1.5 times the pot, right?
Yeah.
Because we're so polarized.
Right, that's true.
And so we're really looking to get hero called. We think we're ahead most of the time. I think what happened, and I understand why Lee did this, he bet small because he's trying to get called by a much weaker showdownable hand, which is what he thinks Givens has. He's afraid if he bets 1.5 times the pot, Givens is just going to fold his weak hands.
Yeah, but that might be a bit transparent, which kind of goes to the point of still trying to help here.
Yeah.
Which is cool, but I don't think I agree with the range advantage part.
I mean, the other thing, too, is it's not like we think we're going to get raised almost ever, right? Unless somehow Givens backed into the nuts with Queen 10, which it's going to be hard for him to do.
It's going to be really hard for either of them to have Queen 10.
Yeah. Interesting comment.
Yeah.